Good evening and welcome to another scene in the living world of darkness. Tonight we have a scene that happens just after Mr. Spillane and Theodora has left the hospital, tending to some business. And Theodore um, is, well, he's not going to walk around on the street talking to a person like Mr. Spillane, so he has, the two of them have just taken a car ride with Theodore's chauffeur, and currently in the car, the two of them have just gotten in, and Theodore is sitting down and just looks at Spillane and just says, "Right, right, good. So now that is handled. I believe that, well, Nikki said she would find her own way home. It's not far from one of the entrance points, so it shouldn't be a problem. Um, that's, well, I think that your bit of business went off without a hitch.
I guess I could chase as a fan.
Good. So, other than we now have a time crunch for when we need to confront Mr. Earl, any other news I should be aware of? Or rumblings you've heard? Anything?
I've got some news for you, though I'd prefer it to remain between us. Oh, if that would be alright.
It always does.
Well, I've seen that should I say you've perhaps expressed a bit of an interest in climbing up the ladder of this city once the war's over.
I see. No reason. Oh, congratulations on your new status, by the way. It seems very fortuitous, but maybe they are related.
Aye, quite fortuitous. I was wondering how much support you required, because obviously the city respects you a great deal, considering your time and the work you've put in here.
Well, depends on what you count as support. Our current prince, he does that entire thing in quotations, both current and prince, and just she has a lot of support, but well, as you probably know, the Atlantic is quite a dividing line when, well, the Camarilla is concerned, and support in the old world is quite, well, not separate necessarily, but quite another thing than support stateside.
I believe the reason Europe has so much weight in this particular city is partly because we're on the East Coast, and also because there doesn't seem to be any one individual who is...
Do they, honestly, have a lot of input in the city? They seem to think they do, and to a certain extent I would agree with you, but our illustrious prince huffs and puffs as she does, as she's always done. And yes, she can bully and pressure individuals quite a lot. In an entire city, how much, well, how much would actually be brought to bear if she went fully to enforce what she claims?
Knowing her particular lineage and the extent of her contacts, I would say a fair amount of her power is a reality, not just projection. That's my opinion from having more intimate dealings with her.
He shoots you a grin that is a little scary. A little scary, he says. Indeed, indeed. Well, so what did she promise you exactly? Did she even promise you anything?
Sam looks a little bit put off by this question, as if it's what is a sudden changing of the topic, which Sam doesn't seem to appreciate. It's not a matter of being promised anything. I'm just stating I've seen the extent of the power up front, as has Afra and, of course, Selena.
Surely. But you do realize that you said you wanted to climb the ranks, so to say. You realize as soon as the pests are removed, she will move in and she will instigate well, she will put in all of her sycophants to the important roles. She would not care less for anyone in this city. They are, well, current tenants in her city, and she wants anyone who does not grovel at her feet gone. I'm not saying I do not understand that you have certain done certain calculations. It's quite all right. But you say you know by dealing with her. You do realize that I've had the dubious pleasure of being, well, having known her quite thoroughly for a bit longer than you, right?
Oh, don't worry, good sir, I'm quite aware. I wouldn't be engaging in this discussion with you if I didn't think your advice would be valuable.
Well, if she truly becomes the prince, I will leave the city. Of that there is no doubt. She has wanted me dead pretty much since I was embraced. Well, not quite true, but almost. And, well, she's not going to stop wanting that. And, well, yes, not something I want for obvious reasons. But neither do I want to be anywhere near her. I'm quite happy to have well, an ocean between the two of us.
Sam seems to mutter some sort of expletive under his breath. That's unfortunate. I'll be honest, if I had that information earlier, I might have been able to use that. Alas, it is what it is. I understand why you'd want to leave if she became prince. I'd actually planned.
Well, go on.
What concerns me is the transition of power. I have, as you know, I traveled to Europe for a couple of days. Everyone over there is understanding that America is a different place from Europe, and that certain concessions are going to be made. My worry is that the passing of the torch from the old prince to the new one is going to destabilize the careful equilibrium we've established with the Anarchs. As we know, the Anarchs' political agenda and Maria's are not exactly in line with each other.
One more reason for her not to become prince. But he looks at Spillane and just, well, it is not. I do regret that you did not know this, if this would have changed your mind, but in adversity there is opportunity. I'm guessing, without knowing fully, that you have a certain arrangement. But truly, with your support, there's no certainty that she can indeed take the Princeton, is there? If it is just you supporting her, that is not enough, I would say. And, well,
The issue remains is that it's not just Europe she has support from. I'm aware that Boston has also declared their support for her, and that's the main problem. If there were perhaps a viable alternative, then things might have been different. And I know if you would have had similar weight behind you, I definitely would have been looking at you. I believe I actually stated that at one point, when Alec was around.
well, I do appreciate both you and Alex's support at the time, but, well, I thought our concerns should have been to, well, I don't know, the Sabbat, but apparently Maria's timing and, well, nature seems to be unchanging. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's quite all right. She is. I do have some support, both in the old world and in the new. But again, you seem to be putting a lot of stock into things that are so very far away. I don't necessarily see it as a certainty that with her support that she can just waltz in. A prince that is shown to not have the support of anyone in the city surely is not a prince. A prince is respected in the domain of the city, but if no one in the city respects the domain of the prince and has no confidence in the prince, her claim is meaningless. Whatever she might think.
That depends on what you mean by no confidence, because that can mean several things, and that then we're wandering awfully near Anarch territory, which I think has been the concern of everyone else.
Then the main concern with Isaac. Isaac has certain leanings that I do not universally share. Far from it. I do think I would present a somewhat more palatable, shall we say, choice than Isaac for the hardliners, shall we say. I have a certain, well, I can begin to set certain things in motion that will make life a bit more complicated for our dear prince. By doing so, it means that I would go all in for reclaiming the princedom. And as far as I can see, this would conflict with your plans, which is a problem. But I would not respect you if you are not as quick on your feet and especially quick on your mind, so to say, as you are. A venture with only one game plan is not worthy, I would say. And I'm quite sure you have more than one game plan. One of them should be, and there's a very, let's say that you support her, but she does not become prince. Is that your fault?
Oh, pardon?
If if you support her, but it ends up her not becoming prince, is that your fault? Surely you are influential, then true, but surely that is not your fault. You did what you could. You're not a Superman, right? Ah, maybe you are. What do I know? But surely she could not only have the support of one person and expect to become prince, even with the amount of support she has everywhere else. Sure, but it's not fault of you. You have made arrangements, but if things do not turn out the way not the way she wanted, that's not your problem particularly, is it? When it comes down to it. You did what you could. I know
I
you always have.
My overarching goal, I guess you could say, is to maintain the stability of the city regardless of who becomes prince. That is part of why I went to Europe to make sure this would be sorted. And that was not just for my own goals, that related to the city at large. That's why I said
If you want,
arrangements are in place to make sure things don't turn out as I well, perhaps all of us would prefer it not to turn out as.
trust me, Mr. Spade. 200 on-off years of experience with this woman. Any arrangement you've made with Sheba's prince will result in chaos. Trust me. I know you're capable, but well, trust me. Any plan with wisdom is chaos, whether you want to or not. You are capable, yes, indeed you are, but she possesses very, very specific and very, very, very horrendous aspects that makes any prince leader in any way absolutely the worst. A triangle of disaster.
I
Lacking leadership abilities and lacking the ability to inspire some sort of encouragement or love in one's subjects, a lack of restraint when it comes to expressing or exercising cruelty to her subjects, and a complete and utter inability to take any sort of criticism.
There are literally parts where Sam is more convinced and less convinced and then more convinced. Like he like take it's like almost like he's judging each individual point. He says, "You definitely make a fair argument, although I would contend for cruelty one, considering I've seen neonates in this city blood hunted for less under the old prince, and no one seemed to bat an eyelid. People tend not to react to certain events until it directly affects them."
Quite true. The cruelty I'm specifically referring here is any personal slight. She takes a great deal of quite base enjoyment in making sure that people remember that they should not do this. One might say that she's not particularly well. An outsider would probably say that she is not necessarily most in control of her beast, but such is a speculation, of course.
Due to my current position, my ability to offer you assistance is limited. I can still do so. It's just a more subtle affair. And
Right, sir.
I
Mrs.
understand. Oh, sorry.
Puts a hand up. Puts a hand up. Mrs. Spillane. I am being. Well, remember the night in the house when this war began? I showed you my face. That was a show of trust. But this, well, this conversation is even more trust. I'm showing you a lot of trust because I recognize what you have done. You were an exceptional sheriff in the short time you were, under extraordinary difficult times. You've done well. You survived thus far, and you carry yourself well. I do not wish you to leave. With what you've just said and what I can piece together, you have bet on an unknown horse, shall we say. You do not have the requisite knowledge of her and her dealings, of how unpredictable she truly is. But I do not wish you to leave this city. I wish for you to remain here. And this is why I am showing you this very, very great modicum, well, not modicum, this great amount of trust. I want you to stay. And that is why we will work together, and somehow the two of us will find a solution.
I hope so.
Whatever support you can give me, it's fine. But do keep in mind that if she truly claims a city where the Sabbat are gone, I will be gone as well. But hopefully we will find a alternative route for this. And yes, well, truth be told, all of this I've told you, it's not really what it would change anything. I do not believe that she can want me any more dead than she already does. But
and however this happens to turn out, no, it has been a pleasure and an honor working with you, good sir. You've done a lot for the city, and I don't want you to think it's gone unappreciated.
well, likewise, Mr. Spiller. But the war is not even honestly won yet, so we have a lot of work to do, and we will enjoy each other's company for some time. Yes, I hope. But
That's right.
please do consider that this, just because you're set on a different course does not mean you cannot make plans or set other smaller bits to see, just in case.
I'll keep that in mind. I'll see what I can do for you. It's going to take a lot of force and a lot of.
No one ever promised us that this life would be easy or easier than our mortal life. He smiles, a bit upgiving, or like a bit sad, but with a glint in his eye. But he just, oh, I will drop you off here. It's close to one of the entrances. I will have a little drive myself. I hope that's all right.
I,
And he will set you off, and the two of them will part ways as the car will drive off. And unless Verlaine wants to do anything, I believe that this is where we will end our scene. Thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.
Good night.